Welcome into SportsZone All Access here on this Wednesday, February the 11th, cruising through the month of February already. And our newest tradition here on Wednesdays is to dive into some of the top plays of the week. We have Kelsey Dennehy and myself here to do that, and then we'll talk about some high school hoops. It was a busy night of high school hoops on Tuesday night, and get you through another Wednesday here on SportsZone All Access. And so, with that being said, let's jump right into the top plays and have a conversation about what we think the top 5 plays from the past week are. We start with number 5, and it's the Stampede playing tic-tac-toe for a goal. They would end up beating Green Bay in this game, but you'll see in the replay here, this is just some crisp passing. Kelsey, you've been around here too, and that puck was in the air that he batted into, kind of punched into the goal there. That's not as easy as he made it look, I don't think.
No, usually you try and draw up a one-timer type play when you're in the man advantage like the Stampede were in this situation. And for them, it just executed flawlessly. I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding on Green Bay's end as to who was defending that guy on the post. And you think that maybe he would be the person trying to tip the puck in the net, but no, they've got somebody on the weak side ready to go, and it was a beautiful one.
It's a beautiful play, and as you see here, what's this crisp passing? Puck coming through the air, bouncing a little bit. Great job.
That was an awkward angle, too, to be passing the puck.
It is. They made it work. Sometimes those awkward angles lead to good goals, and it did here. Stampede won that game over Green Bay. We took at number 4, Jace Unzen. Kelsey, you were at this game, and he was fantastic for Jefferson. Hit some big shots down the stretch. Here they have a 1-point lead. Step back triple. Nothing but net. Huge bucket. He went on to score 30 in this game. So not only was he hitting some clutch baskets, but he scored 30 points in the process too, Kelsey. You really got to see Jace Unzen step up for the Cavaliers.
He has been, I think, a key leader for the Cavs this year, and he was able to show that on the floor as well against T. It was a really exciting game. I mean, the stands were full. Everybody was engaged, and he certainly kept them locked in. He called game there and won it for the Cavs. It was really exciting. And I mean, you're wondering kind of, is he going to hit the 30? Is he going to kind of waver? I think some free throws sent him over the edge there. So
well, and the thing is too, sometimes you feed the hot hand, and here they are up by 1, final minute of the game. You hit a shot, especially a 3, you can go up 2 scores and give it to the hot hand. He went for 30 that night. Big time game for Jace Unzen as they picked up a big win over T Area, who is now ranked, and the Cavaliers, well, they'll take that. They weren't ranked at the time, now are, and that's a big win for a team that's playing some good basketball. Number 3, the Sioux Falls Stampede go down to their rival Sioux City. This one was waved off, actually, for goaltender interference. Then they reviewed it. Nope, just kidding. It's a good goal. And boy, did that open the floodgates. You see it on the graphic. 7 first-period goals, Kelsey. You've been around hockey. You know, that doesn't happen too often. 7 first-period goals, a lot of bounces going your way, and a lot of good handling of the puck, obviously, to do that.
Yeah, a lot of times when a team is able to score at such a high clip, it has more to do with their offensive zone momentum and play that they're able to get into in these games. And as you can see, as we move through each of the 7 goals, the progression of the play is so strong. You see everybody on the Stampede side of the puck knows exactly where each other are, and whether or not the play was drawn up ahead of time, they're able to capitalize in some of those key moments and be in the right place at the right time, which at some times is really all you have to do.
You have a 7-goal lead after the first period. Okay, it's kind of easy to know what you do. What do you think Sioux City was talking about there? I mean, how do you try to reset? You know, I think when it's 3, 4, 5-0, they're thinking, okay, just get us to the end of the period. Then they pushed it to 7. What do you do in that 20-minute frame where you're trying to reset?
I mean, maybe get reamed out in the locker room.
I'm sure that was part of it.
But I mean, really just back to the basics of whatever system they were trying to run that they weren't executing, clarifying. Obviously, in between periods is not the time to be clarifying questions on the system you're supposed to be pretty confident at this point in the season running, but you never know. Could have gotten switched up on them last minute. So I think just going back to the basics and really keeping it simple, controlling what you can control, which is the little things on the ice, giving 100% to every puck, winning the 50-50 puck battles, getting ahead in draws. And I mean, that's really, when you're down by that many, that's all you can do to at least stay afloat and maybe get a couple on the board, if not make a really dramatic comeback.
Well, they scored the next 2 goals, Sioux City did, and then the Sioux Falls scored again. As close as it got was 8-4. Sioux Falls scored the last 2 and won 10-4. 10 goals in a hockey game.
That's a tricky one.
They lead the conference in scoring for a reason, right? And they added on to it that night with that win. Number 2, these 2 top plays were good ones. Josie Beitler, our game of the week. That was her, and that's the bench's reaction. 3-point game, 15 seconds to go, and look at this. Calm, cool, collected from the sophomore. Went on to score 14 points, all in the second half. And look at this crowd. Look at the bench just go nuts.
I wish we had the angle of her after the fact as well, because her reaction was so funny. She almost looked like surprised that she hit the shot, even though it really was, as soon as you see the ball touch her hands, it's one of those that you kind of just know is going to hit. But that was the first time that Washington had been within 3 points of Brandon Valley since it was 4-4 at the very beginning of the first quarter. So a really big moment for such a young player, and she capitalized on it. It was really exciting. The whole place just erupted.
Well, look at this. Calm, cool, get into a shooter's position, and then finish with the jumper, the 3-point dagger to tie the game. Unfortunately, Olivia Paget, it was her night. She went for 37 points, and they went on to win. Brandon Valley did by 5 points, but still, clutch shot from a sophomore. You got to like that. There's some future in that Washington team, and in the meantime, they're still competitive the way they was. That was a fantastic game that we got to be a part of.
It was really fun, and who doesn't like some free basketball at the end there? An extra 5 minutes of overtime to decide it. I mean, you can't hang your heads on getting your team to that extra period when at one point Washington was down nearly 20 points.
Yeah, 18 points at its worst, and they climbed all the way back. That's impressive. It took them every second in the game to climb back and tie the game with 10 seconds left, but they did climb back. Number 1 play, Matthew Moores. This is a pretty dunk right here. At full speed, I remember shooting it going, okay, that was cool. When you watch the replay here, this was really cool. Defender says, I'm going to try to block it, and then goes, oh, wait a minute, get out of the way. Matthew Moores is coming through, and it was part of a big run that SDSU put together to get themselves back into the game in the first half against St. Thomas. Unfortunately, halftime came, that momentum faded, and they would end up losing in the second half. But Matthew Moore is making some dynamic plays in the process. It's a cool dunk. Unfortunately, didn't lead to a win, but it's still a pretty play.
It is definitely a pretty play. You can see that defender kind of go, actually, I'm good. Thanks, though. That's okay.
Tried to avoid the poster. He's just trying to slide out of the way.
He's not trying to get slammed on the head. I mean, he doesn't want to get taken out of the game for defending a ball that was very clearly going to go through the hoop.
Yeah.
So it's an exciting one. And it always gets the crowd rejuvenated, especially in SDSU's case where they're trying to string together a little bit of momentum there.
Ooh. Yeah, that's pretty. That was in transition, and it was part of Damon Wilkinson a few minutes before had a big dunk, and that got the crowd going. And then St. Thomas answered with a dunk of their own, and it kind of quieted everybody. And then Matthew Moores did this. Again, Bubs Alvarez, credit to him, too. He had the whereabouts to get that ball, rebound it, and just fired up court to Moores, who was rim running out of the transition break, and there you go. That's a pretty slam. Punishing the rim is
who doesn't love a good dunk?
Yeah, who doesn't, right? That's a great play. There's your top plays of the week here on KELOLAND Plus. And don't forget, every Wednesday we'll have those as we kind of dive back into what each week we'll look at for top plays. So.
If there's one we missed or one that you saw, let us know, because we're at 1 million games a week, so we try and keep track throughout the week, but sometimes plays get away from us. So
no, that's a great idea. sports@keloland.com. You can email us there, and we want you to, right?
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
Any
if you got
cool
a top
plays.
play, if you shot it on your phone, I don't care. Send it to us. We'll take it.
Yep.
We'll take it. There's so many games that go on between all the sports, right? We had
Yeah.
hockey, we had basketball, you have wrestling, all that stuff. It was no way we can see all the cool plays
It's
that
pretty
happen
much
throughout a
always
week.
crossover season in South Dakota. It seems to be the case. So we're trying to get our hands on as many highlights as we can for the week to show off what's going on across KELOLAND. So that would be a huge help. If we miss anything, we try our best, but you know, we're not octopuses.
No,
so.
there's no way with everything that
can't
goes
clone
on.
ourselves.
All three of us cannot see every game at one time. It's just impossible.
I
So, yeah.
wish. That would be really
So, yeah,
exciting.
great point by Kelsey. sports@keloland.com. Email us your top play, and we'll get you on there every Wednesday. So, well, that'll do it for our top plays. We had a lot of big high school basketball games that went on. We just talked about that Brandon Valley game. That was a good one with Washington. We're going to recap some high school basketball and talk about what we saw when we come back to SportsZone All Access. And welcome back to SportsZone All Access. And one thing we should mention, some big news that kind of came out of Sioux Falls and the South Dakota High School Activities Association is the announcement of, and you remember, South Dakota High School Activities Association is one that assigns football games.
Yes.
And they did sign some pretty interesting ones as the Sioux Falls School District and the metro kind of area will begin playing games against Omaha area schools in the coming years. So this year and next year, they'll do a home and home for each team. And it's a new thing that'll be happening this year. So it was in a press release Wednesday morning. It was announced the matchups for next year. Brandon Valley at Bellevue West, Washington at Millard North, Omaha Central at Lincoln, Omaha Westview at Jefferson, and Omaha North at Harrisburg. The matchups are part of a 2-year cycle, and the games next year are on the concurrent date, with the home and away will be flipped according to the release for the future. So kind of an interesting thing there. I think it's a way to kind of do away with, right now you have AA teams, 11 AA teams going up and playing the AAA teams, and a lot of those teams really aren't seeing competitive outcomes. And so I think this is a way to do that while also kind of, pitting a little bit of a rivalry between the Omaha area and the Sioux Falls area.
That'll be exciting. I mean, they won't really know until they get a chance to all play each other, whether it is going to be more competitive. But you can't complain about an effort to bring more competition to these high school sports. So it'll be interesting to see and fun to cover.
It will be interesting, especially because like the Sioux Falls metro area is a few 100,000 people.
Right.
And the Omaha metro area is over 1 million people. So they have a little bit, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how they match up in year one. And we have no idea, right? We've never seen these matchups. It's a really cool thing that was kind of developing news here today. Jordan DeSmit will have a story on it coming up later tonight on KELOLAND News. Let's dive into high school basketball, where the girls were in center spotlight in a few games last night, including Brandon Valley and Washington. Gracie Salter had 12 second-half points, 20 for the game. That three, thought it was going to be enough to hold them off. Josie Beitler, all 14 points came in the second half, including this three. They got the bench fired up. It also tied the game with seconds to go, forced overtime, but then this girl, she was amazing. 20 points in the first 12 minutes of the game. Olivia Paget went for 37. I think Minnesota State will be happy with her. They went on to win 65-60 in an overtime classic that we had the live game of the week. It was fun, Kelsey.
It was really fun. It was exciting to see, especially in comparison to Washington having played O'Gorman.
Yeah, just
Brandon
a couple
Valley
weeks ago.
had also played O'Gorman at the very beginning of the season and beat O'Gorman. O'Gorman beat Washington at Washington very handily.
As Brandon Valley beat O'Gorman handily, right?
Right, nearly 30 points. So it was definitely interesting to see how much Washington has grown and developed this year. Brandon Valley is very hard to defend because they will get out in transition before you can even blink.
Right.
And the Warriors had some trouble with it at the very beginning, but they were able to make some adjustments. And Layla Berthe was one of the key players for them. I know they fell short by 5, but still, to even be hanging around with a Brandon Valley team that before last night was putting up 30 points more than their opponent in every single game that they've played is an accomplishment in itself.
They lost by 5, and Brandon Valley's averaging a 30-point win each game.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what Kelsey was trying to say there, and it was an 18-point game in the second quarter. It looked like it was all was lost, and then Washington went on a 13-0 run and put themselves back into it. And then the second half, their sophomores got involved. Layla Berthe, who had 0 points at halftime, ended up with 11 in the second half. Josie Beitler, who had 0 points at halftime, ended up with 14. That's 25 right there in the second half alone. And on a night where Rylan Kennett, one of their senior leaders, one of the 2 returning starters that they have, she struggled. She didn't score. And she fouled out. And she fouled out early. Yeah. So they really were relying on some sophomores. The sophomores stepped up. Great game of the week that we were introduced to last night.
Absolutely. And you can't forget Dana Harp either. She was huge from the free throw line for them. Another big one, T-Area. It took a little time for them to get adjusted.
Yes, it did.
But they took care of business against Harrisburg. It was an exciting one that Ian got to shoot last night. There was a lot of high school hoops going on last night. A lot of really good games. Yeah,
T-Area had through the first half of the first quarter and into the final minutes of the first quarter, as you see, there's under a minute left. That was only their second field goal with a minute left in the first quarter. They really did struggle, but then they came from behind and were able to come away with the win over Harrisburg. Give them some credit to the Titans to find a way to battle through a slow start to the game. Another really good game was down in Dakota Valley, where this one was kind of a wire-to-wire game. 3-point game, fourth quarter. Big-time shot. Tessa Nelson knocks that down. Taylor Roovers here in a couple minutes. She knocked down a big bucket for Vermilion as well, had 24. And Vermilion wins at Dakota Valley in a Class A rivalry matchup. The 2 teams are not too far apart. You can see Roovers here. She has a nice move. Split the 2 defenders and then knocked down the jumper on their way to the 5-point win over Dakota Valley, and a good win on the road for Vermilion.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great play. Not often are you able to just move right through 2 defenders. It was an exciting one, and definitely love to see these wire-to-wire games as the home stretch of the season plays out.
Had some boys games, I should say. Number 1, Lincoln, in a close one. Had a really close one. T-Area, double overtime. Yeah, we had some good ones to talk about. We'll do that when we come back to Sports Zone All Access. Welcome back to Sports Zone All Access. We mentioned some good girls games that went on, and there was some really good ones. There was also some really good boys contests on Tuesday night, and we happen to be at 3 of them. Let's start off by talking about the Lincoln boys, who had a double-digit lead in the first half, and much like the Patriots do, had a fast start. Looked like they had this one well in hand, and as you see by the graphic, it was not well in hand. They did win, but man, it came right down to the wire, picking up just a 2-point win over O'Gorman. As you know, you kind of see this, Kelsey. I feel like this was just a case of one of those, a good team like O'Gorman gave their best shot and nearly took down Lincoln.
Yeah, seriously, it's a great lesson for the Patriots at this point in the season. They were able to escape without the loss, but I am sure they definitely learned a lot about just how they tackle opponents at this point in the season. Being the number 1 team, being undefeated, there's going to be a target on their back regardless, and they're going to get team's best shot, and now is a great time to learn that is going to be the case, to be humbled a little bit before tournament time comes, because then it's do or die, and that is not the time to take your first loss of the season.
No, it was a good win for Lincoln, but like you said, great reminder, every game, everyone's going to give them their best shot because it's Lincoln, and nobody's supposed to beat Lincoln. Well, O'Gorman just about did, and so these teams are going to keep firing their best shots until one of them can ultimately beat them, or Lincoln will keep battling through it. We're going to find out. There was a really good game going on in T. It was a top 5 showdown between Harrisburg and T area, and it's the Titans in double overtime. It actually finished just before the news finished. Ian was editing the highlights and was worried he was going to get them in time. As just before about the left 10 o'clock, the game finally finished with a T area victory. And the Titans, we just talked about a tough loss in top plays against Jefferson. How about a big time win over a Harrisburg team that people have been high on this season?
I mean, I've been high on Harrisburg this season. They are a gritty basketball team, and they're hard to beat. They're tough. And so for T to get that win at home after falling to Jefferson is definitely a lot of things moving in the right direction for the Titans, especially at this point in the season. You want to be able to respond to tough losses. And I mean, you get 2 extra periods of basketball, but they're still able to find the win. And when it's a ranked matchup, I mean, sometimes that's as much as it takes.
Yeah, they were down 18-8 early, battled back. Then it was just a great low-scoring defensive game. There wasn't a ton of points in this one, but it goes the Titans' way as they get a big ranked win over Harrisburg. Now let's talk about an upset, another one too. You talk about the T area beating number 3. Well, here's Dakota Valley beating number 7 Vermilion. The Danagers, man, they can score the basketball, but Dakota Valley found a way to keep them in check on Tuesday night. That's a big shot right there from the corner for Dakota Valley as they go on to win this one in a tight contest. Trey Hansen, he's been fantastic this season, but the night belonged to Tatum Sorensen. He's the next highlight here for Dakota Valley. 41 game-high points. He was fantastic and goes the way of the Panthers with a nice upset over a good Vermilion team.
I mean, whatever it takes. If it takes one guy having 41 and having a great night, I mean, you'll take it, right? It's momentum to continue to build on as you enter the home stretch of the season, which is when you want to be playing your best basketball. And so good stuff for Dakota Valley. It'll be interesting to see how Vermilion bounces back from this one and what adjustments or changes they make, if any, into their approach.
We'll have to see, but it was a good win for Dakota Valley, who hasn't had the season that they were exactly wanting to have. Well, we're going to wrap up the show when we come back. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access. What's coming up tonight? The South Dakota State men, have some South Dakota natives leading the way. We'll talk with them. The USD men are at home, and then Minnesota welcomes in the Portland Trail Blazers in the NBA. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.